So guys, welcome to Xupes. We're here in the barn in Bishop Stortford, and in this review we're going to look at a very special dress watch from Patek Philippe 5117R. Now, we would love to hear what you think of the review, and we'd also love for your recommendations on what we should cover next. In this review, we're going to look at the history of Patek very briefly and the reference, and we're then going to look at the watch itself. So do let us know your thoughts in the comments below. So let's start with the brand itself. So Patek has this mythical, special place in the watch world, and for good reason. We will have all seen the advert that you never actually own a Patek Philippe, you merely look after it for the next generation. But one of the sales team was saying that to a client, and one of the senior heads at Patek overheard it and decided that it was the perfect campaign message, which we know it is, and it's been used ever since. And in truth, they're a brand that transcend many others. What's really interesting to me right now is that we've seen a real shift in the approach to clothing that men and women tend to work with. Because more of us are working from home, things are less formal. We know that Patek sports watches are incredibly popular. We know the 5711, the Nautilus, the Aquanaut are just some of the most iconic sports watches in the world. And while we've become more casual in the way we present ourselves, interestingly enough, we have seen at auction the dress watch is having a moment. While we have this surge in sports watches right now, there's something quintessentially elegant and quintessentially Patek about a classic dress watch. And the other thing to say, guys, from a design perspective, is that there are icons in watchmaking. It's easy to think of them. The Royal Oak, the Nautilus, the Aquanaut, the Lange 1. But I would also include the Calatrava. And in watchmaking, there are very few things more challenging than making a simple watch recognizable. When a designer for a watch sits down and thinks about how they're going to approach this, I know, having spoken to many of them over the years, creating something interesting, distinctive from a distance is very challenging. So guys, looking at the reference itself, 1932 is when we saw the first Calatrava from Patek. It was the reference 96, and it actually was the first dress watch from the maker, and it saw Patek through the Great Depression. Now, this is not the typical. This is not the one that you're all familiar with. This is a slight variation. This is the 5117R. So it's 37 millimeters in rose gold. In this reference, we have that classic hobnail finish, which gives it formality. We have that beautiful Patek proportion. So 37 millimeters, svelte, elegant, proportional. And of course, we have a very crisp white dial, which any watch geek's going to see and appreciate from a distance. While date windows are controversial, I have to say I really like this one, mainly because the numerals themselves, the font that Patek have chosen for this is incredibly elegant and simple. While things could be simpler, and the classic story is that a dress watch has to just be hours and minutes. In this instance, we have two complications. We have the central seconds, and we've got the date window. So while it's not as simple as it could be, you are made aware of its operation by that running central seconds hand. While we've spent most of our time looking at the case itself, let's take a moment to appreciate what's inside it and what's on it. First of all, this beautiful Art Deco style buckle, solid gold buckle from Patek. Again, sometimes on a train or at an airport, all you need see is the buckle underneath the wrist to recognize the brand. We then have this beautiful automatic caliber. So unlike traditional dress watches, which you have to wind, this is an automatic watch. So you can be sure that you can wear this on a Friday, pick it up on a Monday morning, and it's still working. So there's some real joy in the functionality of this dress watch. And so guys, it's worthwhile just touching on the value proposition here. Now, while it's a Patek, it holds very special place in the watchmaking world. We have this listed for $14.99 on the website. It's also worthwhile pointing out that while Patek is special, there are other watches that compete with it. The ones that come to mind for me are the Lange Saxonia and the Patrimony from Vacheron, both wonderful brands, both Richemont brands versus a family-owned business. I would say, while I have a soft spot for both of the other brands, there is something about the value proposition from Patek. There's something about the idea of owning a Patek that's important, that's different, that I would suggest every great collector has to have a Patek Calatrava in their collection. When we look at the pre-owned market, we suddenly see the separation, and we see Patek starting to surge forward. And these Calatravas have a renewed energy in them in 2020 in the market, and we're seeing prices go from 25 to 30,000 for good, clean references. So guys, there we go. I hope that in some small way I've convinced you that actually something more delicate, something more elegant is the way to go. And if you're going to do that, the Patek Philippe Calatrava may just be the perfect dress watch. Now, if you disagree with me, great, but let me know down below on what your thoughts are and where you'd go. Catch you next time.